Hello and welcome to Critical Health News' regular broadcast. My name is John T. McCollier. We are joined once again by Ben Fuchs, the pharmacist who advocates for the body's natural ability to heal. You wanted to talk about fasting?
I got a really cool article. This was published in the San Antonio Express News, caught my attention, came out a couple days ago, and I'm always looking for interesting articles. But when I see things about skipping meals or fasting, I really hone in on that. So I always found fasting to be a really interesting health strategy because it exemplifies what I'm always talking about, and that's being your own health authority. You know what I'm saying? Being your own health expert, medicalizing yourself, and doing it inexpensively, doing it without having to pay money for drugs or doctor's offices or diagnostics. Deep breathing is a classic example of a health strategy, health medicine that doesn't cost us anything.
Right.
Exercise, of course, is another great health strategy that doesn't cost us anything. Meditation is a great health strategy that doesn't cost us anything. And almost like a poster child for a health challenge that doesn't cost us anything. In fact, we can make money doing this, save money and actually show up positive in our bank account by doing this health strategy. Not only does it cost us money, and that's fasting, or at least calorie restriction. And there's, maybe we should define a couple of terms. Okay, so fasting is when you stop eating, right? And then calorie restriction is just when you eat less. Okay, and then you have intermittent fasting, which is fasting periodically, maybe once a week, once every couple of weeks, twice a week, mixing it up. Whenever you're intermittent fasting, you want to kind of keep your body guessing as to when food is coming. The body operates best when it doesn't know when food is coming. It has to sort of prime itself up in order to go obtain food. So if you can trick the body into not knowing when food is coming, you can achieve a lot of health benefits. And fasting to me represents everything that's great about health strategies that we can take, that we can incorporate at home. It's easy. It has multifunctional health benefits, particularly if you're sick. And bonus, not only does it cost you money, you make money. So let's talk a little bit about that. So actually, let me talk a little bit about this article. This is written by, it was published in the San Antonio Express News. It's like a little column that came out of Business Insider, it looks like. A lady named Rosie Fitzmaurice talks about what happened when she skipped breakfast. And I'm not going to go into the whole article. It's an interesting article. You can Google it. I skipped breakfast for 3 weeks, and it made me realize what hunger actually is. What she realized was that there is, by skipping breakfast, she had to ask herself why she was eating.
Right.
Habit, boredom, or actual hunger. This is so important, John.
Yeah, no, I'm very aware of this.
Yeah, me too. I was 50 pounds a couple years ago. I started to get really big in my 40s, and by the time I was 45 or 46, I was 50 pounds over where I should be. And I determined I had to take corrective measures immediately as my pant size went from a 32 to 34 to a 36 to a 38. So what I did was I started to practice moving my awareness, moving my attention from my mind into my stomach. I found that when I was hungry, a lot of times I wasn't hungry from my stomach or from my belly. I was hungry from my head. I was hungry from my mind. And I noticed that if I put my attention back into my belly, a lot of times when I thought I was hungry, not only was I not hungry, but my stomach was actually begging me not to eat. It was actually pleading with me not to put any food in it. My stomach, I'm using that as a term for my collective digestive system. Basically, it's your intestines, really, where you get these complaints from. And so by practicing moving my attention from my the upper part of me, the head, the imagination, into the lower part of me, the intestine, which ironically and interestingly is like a brain. Your solar plexus is a major concentration of energy and spirituality. They always tell you want to activate your solar plexus. When you're breathing, you want to breathe into your solar plexus. I found that when I was listening to this brain, if you will, I was much wiser than if I was listening to this brain. And so I just practiced moving my awareness, moving my attention down to my lower body and upper body. Now I have to say, this took work. This was not an easy thing to do because this is much stronger than this. At least it's been, it's gotten conditionally stronger. I think this is stronger, supposed to be stronger, but we made this so strong that I found myself constantly going back up into my head and back. But if you're determined to lose the weight, which I was determined to lose the weight, or you're determined to achieve some of the benefits from fasting, which I'll talk about here in a second, this is a great strategy. It's going to take work. I'm not going to tell you it's going to be easy, but it's well worth it, and it does get easier.
Well, one of the things, Ben, that
your center, your core. Go ahead.
One of the things I've noticed about our particular culture is that it's really a culture of where we put comfort at a very high priority.
But what's interesting about fasting is you actually will feel better. You will mobilize feel-good chemistry. You will activate feel-good chemistry when you fast. Fasting is regulated. Fasting and appetite are regulated, like everything else, by hormones. And there's a lot of hormones that are involved, but the two key players, or two of the most important players, is a hormone called ghrelin, G-H-R-E-L-I-N, ghrelin, and another hormone called leptin, L-E-P-T-I-N. Leptin is the hormone of satisfaction, tells you you're full, you're satisfied. Ghrelin is the hormone of I'm hungry. It activates you. If you can, a couple things that happen, first of all, in our culture when we live our 21st century American lifestyles, is we become resistant to leptin. Our body stops listening to leptin. Leptin has gone up so much. We see this resistance phenomenon with insulin, but with leptin, when leptin resistance occurs, you don't get that satisfaction, that I'm satisfied message as effectively. So one of the things fasting does is it resensitizes your body to leptin. So you get that I'm satisfied message quicker. All right? And that's one of the major advantages to fasting. But another major advantage to fasting, and this is what I was going to say, this is what you reminded me to say when you talked about comfort, is that ghrelin, G-H-R-E-L-I-N, ghrelin, which is the hormone of I'm hungry, I want to go get some food, is also associated with improved brain power. It's also associated with more energy. It's also associated with more get up and go type of type A sort of activities, doing things. It's also associated with muscle development. Now ask yourself this, why would ghrelin, the hormone of I'm hungry, be responsible or be associated with better thinking and a better disposition in general? Not necessarily more comfort, but more love of life, more excitement.
Well, I've seen a documentary where they follow these sand hunters, and they talk about going into a heightened mental state when they're closing in on their prey.
All of that. A heightened mental state, exactly. Colors become more vivid. Sounds become more acute. You're more engaged in life when ghrelin is up. Now ask yourself this, why would that be? Why would the body associate all these wonderful get up and go qualities and living and energizing qualities with ghrelin?
Well, I mean, I imagine that we've evolved that way because if we're hungry, then we're in the process of getting food.
It makes you more able to get food, to go out and hunt. It makes you more equipped. It makes you more physically present with your environment, which is obviously what you need if you're hunting. So ghrelin is evolutionarily designed to keep you in great spirits, put it that way, all right? What we suffer from in this country, ironically, first time in history, is we got too much satisfaction. We got too much comfort. We got too much leptin. The body doesn't like too much comfort. We might, the brain might, because the brain is wired to survive, to find comfort. The body is wired to somehow be able to persevere through downtimes. It does this by getting bigger, by getting stronger, by getting better, by making the senses more acute, by making the brain sharper. And one of the keys to understanding to leveraging how the body's supposed to work is to down-regulate leptin, or I shouldn't say down-regulate, to lower leptin levels, to make the body more sensitive to leptin levels, and hold on to sustained ghrelin. You with me? Keeping ghrelin levels as high as you can, as long as you can. Now, eventually you're going to have to eat. Eventually your body will break down if you don't, if you fast, if you don't eat. I'm not talking about hunger here. I'm talking about controlled hunger. You see the difference? I'm not talking about, like obviously if you don't eat for any food for 40 days or 60 days or 100 days or you don't get any nourishment, you're not going to do very well. I'm talking quick bursts of elevated ghrelin, held as long as you can. Can you picture how this is happening? It's like if you're doing if you're doing a workout with muscles, you want to sustain the stress on the muscles as slowly and as longly as you can. As slowly and as long as you can. You don't want to tear, you don't want to break your arms. You want to do it in a controlled fashion, so it's a slow, sustained lifting of the weight, holding it as long as you can. Likewise with the biochemistry of ghrelin. You want to sustain ghrelin. And the best way to do it is fasting. Intermittent fasting. Do it in this very varied kind of way, as I was saying earlier. Now, in addition to, or instead of, if you can't do intermittent fasting, you absolutely can't fast, do calorie restriction. This gal says she skipped breakfast. You know what? I always tell people, breakfast is the most important meal to skip. Okay?
Right.
This breakfast is the most important meal, needs to be re-examined.
Yeah.
Besides, breakfast is the most important meal for a couple reasons. First of all, if you stop eating at say 8 o'clock, 7 o'clock, 6 o'clock, right? In the afternoon or in the evening, the day before, and you go to breakfast, you fasted from that period to a breakfast. This is, by the way, why you don't want to eat in the middle, before you go to bed, or eat too close to when you're going to bed. Okay? If you you have a fasting period, you want to maximize that fasting period, right? So if you stop eating at 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, and then you don't eat again until 6 o'clock the next morning or 7 o'clock the next morning, now you've got a 12-hour period of ghrelin. You've got a 12-hour period of fasting. You fasted for 12 hours. So when you eat break fast, you break in your fast. You've broken your fast. What I say is extend that period as long as you can, and you'll get more ghrelin. You'll get more sustained ghrelin. You'll get more of the benefits of calorie restriction and fasting.
Yeah, well, the way I feel about it, and I don't know if other people would associate with this, but I don't want to eat until I'm done. Whatever it is I'm trying to do, eating is going to just turn me into a blob.
Smaller, tiny plate. That's another issue.
Right.
That's another thing about eating. Okay, we are satisfied from a solar plexus, belly, intestine stomach perspective much quicker than we are mentally. Follow? Now, and this is another thing you do. I said earlier, put your awareness in your belly and see if you're really hungry from your belly. Do this, Jonty. Okay, just as an experiment. Next time you're doing this, next time you have food in front of you, you're really hungry. Wait till you're really hungry. You have a whole bunch of food in front of you. Wait till you're really, really hungry. Okay, put a whole bunch of food in front of you. Big plate of food, big steak and fish and salad, bread and all the things we all eat. Put a big plate, huge plate, Thanksgiving dinner style plate, right? And do this. Take your food and chew it really slowly. Piece of turkey, piece of bread, piece of whatever. Chew it really slowly, and then check in with your stomach or your belly. Okay, see where you're at. With one bite, you will notice a significant difference in your hunger level. With one bite. When you start doing 3 or 4 bites, if you're really paying close attention, you won't want any more after 3 or 4 bites. You'll be satisfied after 3 or 4 bites. Now, of course, like you say, it's there in front of you, or you're in a social setting, or you're at a party, or you're at a meeting, or you're not thinking, you're reading, you're not paying attention to what you're eating. And by the way, I'm just as guilty of this as anybody. I'm not coming off here like I'm preaching, because I have to work at this all the time myself. But if you pay attention, check in, you're going to find that you only need 3 or 4 bites till you're hungry. Now, I'm not saying you at that point have to change your behavior or feel guilty about anything. Just notice. Just notice how we're not driven by our physiology. We're driven by our mentality. And by being driven by our mentality, we lose the wisdom of our physiology. And the physiology has been around a lot longer than the mentality. You know what I'm saying? The physiology has been around for billions, certainly hundreds of millions of years longer, depending on how you calculate it, than the mentality has.
I find it an important reflection to examine the lifestyles of folks who are still living arboreally. The Aborigines in Australia come to mind when they tell stories about what life at least was like before the Europeans came along. You would go on a long walk through the bushes, and they describe this sort of the food would be appearing because you were hungry or something along those lines. They had a very unique relationship with their environment, but they would eat a teeny amount of the sort of food that we eat, a fraction of the calories, and yet be able to perform at a very high level.
And if they died, they didn't die from diabetes and heart disease. If they died by getting eaten by a wild animal or something, something natural. It wasn't like they had a chronic long-term degenerative disease. Weston Price actually did a study on this. Went out to Papua New Guinea. They've heard of this. He wrote a whole book on it. There's now the Weston Price Foundation, and they talk about the native diets and how Weston was studying. Dr. Price was studying teeth. He was a dentist, so he noticed there was no tooth decay. He noticed there was no malformed teeth, but he also noticed there was no skin problems. There was no heart disease. There wasn't high blood pressure. There weren't all the maladies of chronic degenerative disease. And if you look, the more you look at this and study this stuff, the more it becomes 100% clear, without controversy, that the relationship, the major connection to our health is our food and how we eat and how we process. How we process food and how we eat. Food and how we process it and how we eat. That's the major way to control health. And again, it shows you how cheap and how easy and how at home and how without medical authority, which I'm always saying, be your own authority, how without medical authority, we can participate in our own health. Now, if you absolutely can't fast, some people say absolutely can't fast, do calorie restriction. And by the way, the ketogenic diet, which is a fasting diet, it's a way of duplicating the benefits of fasting, or of getting the benefits of fasting without having to go fast. So you can do a ketogenic diet. We have a product called SueroViv, right? You can do SueroViv cleanse. SueroViv is SueroVie. A SueroViv cleanse is the equivalent of a fast for people who can't fast. SueroViv is a drink that contains fermented probiotics, and it's a fermented whey product. So it contains probiotics, it contains some protein, it contains some electrolytes. So or you can do vegetable juice if you can't fast, cucumber juice, electrolytes. If you're going to drink a lot of water, some people do a water fast. It's probably a good idea to replace those electrolytes if you can with some kind of vegetable. Maybe do mostly water and some cucumber juice kind of thing. Experiment, see what works for you. There's nothing necessarily cut and dry, but what you're basically doing is you're listening to your body, number one, and you're giving your body as little work to do as possible, so that the body can now, check this out, now the body can repair itself, can grow, can recover, can heal. The body can do all the things it wants to do, but it had to divert its precious resources to digestion previously. And this is why every study that's been done, one of the reasons why, every study that's been done on longevity associates calorie restriction with longevity, or I should say the other way around. Every study that's been done on calorie restriction associates longevity with calorie restriction. Calorie restriction is really what it's all about, whether you do it through intermittent fasting, whether you do it through skipping meals. Calorie restriction, keeping the calories. What does the word calorie mean? Calor, where does it come from?
Fire or something.
Fire or heat.
Yeah.
Exactly. You're quenching the fire. You're lowering the heat. Calorie restriction means lowering the heat, turning the dial down the heat. Does your computer like heat? What happens if you put your computer out in the sun?
That's the thing that makes computers die is heat.
It's the mortal enemy of a computer. Well, guess what? You're a computer. Our bodies are beyond anything even the most incredible science fiction writer on the planet could ever come up with as far as its ability to compute and process information. Every little cell is a little computer. So keeping the heat down. So what ends up happening when you keep the heat down, right? Number one, your heart works better, okay? That means you have less heart disease. You have lower cholesterol. Your blood vessels repair themselves more readily. If you have autoimmune disease, the immune system calms down. It's the cure. I won't say cure because you end up getting it back when you stop fasting, but it's a temporary cure for psoriasis. It's a temporary cure for a rashes or itchy condition. It's a temporary cure for all diseases of immunity and inflammation. It quiets the inflammatory system. What is the hallmark sign of inflammation? Heat. What is the hallmark sign of food? Heat. So you get microscopic heat at the level of the blood vessels and the cells, and that's your autoimmune disease. You get macro heat in terms of how the body is processing all this chemistry this incoming chemistry that's coming through the food, and you get heat. So inflammation and heat go hand in hand, and food and heat go hand in hand. And guess what? Food and inflammation go hand in hand. I'm talking about eating salads. You get a temporary immune activity. Your immune system goes on alert when you eat a salad. When you eat something, it is so important to the body. The body's a closed system. It doesn't want anything inside. It has to have food, obviously, but it has to evolve some really sophisticated machinery for vetting the incoming. That makes sense?
Absolutely.
And it mobilizes big time. I'm talking about eating regular. If you're eating foreign food or food that's triggering some kind of immune response, some kind of a specific immune response to what's in that food, big time problems. You do it over and over and over again, there's no way you're not going to be sick. So for heart disease, guess what? Fasting is a natural beta blocker. It's now a natural calcium channel blocker. It's a natural blood thinning medicine. It's a natural statin drug. With not only it lowers your cholesterol like a statin drug. It not only lowers your cholesterol like a statin drug, but it doesn't have any of the toxicity of a statin drug. Instead of the toxicity, it has benefits. If I'm a doctor, I'm writing fasting. I'm writing a prescription for fasting. Before you write a prescription for a statin drug, you write a prescription for fasting. Now, I know there is a certain resistance to fasting, and I understand that. I can't fast. A lot of people say they can't fast. Fine, calorie restriction, skip meals.
Yeah.
At least focus on food. At least place the focus on food. Now, I'm in the skin business. Fasting is amazing for the skin. Fasting improves wound healing of the skin, just like it improves wound healing of blood vessels. Fasting reduces oiliness if you have oily skin. Fasting quiets the immune system if you're dealing with psoriasis, or you're dealing with eczema, or you're dealing with dermatitis. Fasting stimulates collagen production for anti-aging. Fasting improves the way skin cells process energy. Fasting helps lower the localized insulin response, or resensitizes the skin cell to insulin. Acne used to be called skin diabetes because acne involves a problem with processing sugar, both at the skin cell level and at the internal cellular level. They actually used to use diabetes medicine for treating acne before they had in pre-Accutane days. So fasting, by improving sugar, the skin cell's ability to use sugar, and by improving the local insulin response, is a great strategy for dealing with skin problems. Anti-aging for the skin, just like it's anti-aging for the body. It's anti-inflammatory for the skin, the way it's anti-inflammatory for the body. It calms everything down, and at the same time, it makes the body's senses more acute. It does both. You seem like those are two opposite kinds of effects. One is a calming effect. One is a kind of hypervigilant effect. Well, it turns out that we're both calmer and more aware. We're calmer and more attuned to our senses when we fast.
Well,
it's all free, all out of the comfort of your own home.
It strikes me that there's a real contradiction here against the whole consumer society. The whole idea is in order to have something, you have to get something. You have to have you have to buy something.
The body isn't like that. The body and God, the spirit, nature are the ultimate givers. The sun doesn't ask for anything.
Here we're saying you'll have more if you don't. If you don't have something.
You don't. If you just receive.
Yeah.
You just let it be. You just sit.
Just take a break.
Nature's always giving. Nature's always putting out. Our natural tendency is to get. We absorb energy from the sun. In a natural world, in a really natural world, we'll get energized directly from the sun, or from one step from the sun by eating vegetables, which are one step from the sun.
Right.
Nature's complete. We got everything. I've always said this. This is why I say be your own authority. Be your own health authority. Now, a couple things about fasting, like some of the how-tos about fasting. People always ask me, how do you fast? And I always think that's to me, that seems so ironic. How do you fast? You just stop eating. You don't do anything. Nonetheless, there are some little things that little bullet points that you might want to keep in mind when you're fasting. For one thing, if you're going to do a water fast, I sort of mentioned this earlier, you want to make sure you're replacing your electrolytes. In fact, if some people ask, should I supplement, should I not supplement? It doesn't really matter if you supplement or don't supplement, because the idea of fasting is the calories, and there's no calories in your supplements. So it's not necessary. Either way, it's not going to be the end of the world if you miss a day or two of supplements, and it's not going to hurt your fast if you take your supplements. But the most important thing is keeping your calories down. The most important thing involves your calories. The next thing is if you absolutely positively can't fast, do vegetable juices. And not vegetable juices. Do, I don't know what they would call vegetable waters, where you slice cucumber up, or you slice celery up, and you just drop it in the water. And the electrolytes will come out of the water. Okay? If you want a juice, if you want a veg juice, you can do that, or broth, or SueroViv. And you can do a SueroViv cleanse. And the SueroViv cleanse is really nice. Even you can do your intermittent fasting, but the SueroViv is great in the middle of the day anyway, because the SueroViv is energizing. And the SueroViv may be all you really need when you feel like you need a little bit of energy, and you automatically go for food. So we want to begin to regard food as not necessarily our friends. I don't want to go so far as to say it's the enemy, because there is a certain need for food, obviously, and there's a certain aesthetics, and there's an art form to food, kind of. Now, I don't want to rain on everybody's Epicurean parade. You know what I'm saying? There's a certain love of food and sensation that needs to be honored too.
Right.
I'm not dissing on that. I'm saying respect the food. Pay attention to what you're doing. Pay attention to the food. So supplements go either way. Broth, vegetable waters, SueroViv. Those are great ways to go into fasting. And then there's the ketogenic diet, which is a fasting diet. And the the fasting, the whole idea of the ketogenic diet is for people who couldn't fast. And that is and we've talked about the ketogenic diet before. And, it's funny because a lot of times we'll talk about things and then a couple years later, 3 years later, they'll be all the rage, right? Mm-hmm. So we've talked about ketogenic diet for a couple years now, 3-4 years. We've talked about fasting for a long time, and all these are starting to become popular. So ketogenic diet is a way to duplicate the benefits of fasting, specifically for seizures. By the way, fasting is a great strategy for seizure disorders as well as for migraine headaches. Improves migraines, and it also improves seizure disorders. Although with migraines, you got to keep your blood sugar stable. If your insulin is really jacked up, which happens with a lot of folks, and then you try to go into fasting, you may go into hypoglycemia, low blood sugar, and that can trigger a migraine. So you got to be a little careful there. But for seizures, fasting was used for many years before they had drugs. They used to use fasting techniques. And they started to study at the turn of the 20th century. They started to study what was happening when people fasted. And what happens when people fasted, what happens when people fast is their ketones go up. And the body loves ketones. Ketones are like little nuclear bombs of energy. Right. And the only time you get ketones is when you don't have enough sugar present. If you keep the carbs coming in, the body doesn't make any ketones. So the ketone, what they noticed was the ketone levels were high in patients who fasted. And it seems like the ketones were reducing the seizures. So they developed what was called the Ketogenic Diet, which is a diet that is specifically designed to generate ketones initially for seizure disorders, for reducing seizure disorders. So what they also discovered when they started to do the ketogenic diet, they found out that, as it turned out, when you kept carbs out of the diet, your body was forced to burn fat. It generated ketones. But it had to have low calorie. So it was low calorie, low fat, and moderate protein, low calorie, high fat, low calorie, high fat, low carbohydrate, moderate protein. Okay? That's the ketogenic diet. The most important part there is the low calorie, which nobody talks about. And this is where people make big mistakes in the ketogenic diet. They go to the high fat, they got that nailed, right? And they can do the low carb and the protein, but they go too high in the calories. So the ketogenic diet is a fasting diet for people who can't fast, but it's not like, you got to keep the calories low still. It's more like a calorie restricted diet where your body's forced and compelled to burn fat, which it likes to do because it generates ketones. Ketones being especially important for the brain, for brain health, mental health issues, and for the brain. It's antidepressant. The ketogenic diet, by the way, and also for the heart and for basically for the whole body, but specifically for the heart and for the brain. Generated ketones. The heart and the brain really love ketones. The ketogenic diet's been used for Alzheimer's disease, by the way. This is where coconut oil gets a lot of press. Coconut oil is one of nature's best source of ketones, or actually not specifically ketones, but something called MCTs. And MCTs are readily converted into ketones. So coconut oil is extremely ketogenic. It doesn't have ketones itself, but it's extremely ketogenic. And there's a lot of literature now talking about Alzheimer's, coconut oil and Alzheimer's disease. Have you heard of any of this stuff?
I've heard that, but it's been a while.
Miracle and all that stuff. It's because the coconut oil is high in MCTs, which are very ketogenic. So if you're going to benefit from coconut oil, it's important. You got to make sure you're keeping the carbs down. You got to make sure you're keeping the calories down, and you got to make sure you're respecting the protein. They say moderate protein, which I don't really even know what that means, but maybe like an egg or two a day kind of thing is moderate protein. It all depends on the amount of total calories because it's all like has to be in a ratio.
I gotcha. Right.
So you want like 70-80% coming from fats, maybe 5% to 10% somewhere in there coming from carbs, and the remainder coming from protein. The original ketogenic diet, the anti-seizure ketogenic diet, is like 90% fat. It's really high, super high in fat.
Okay.
So long story short, fasting, intermittent fasting, calorie restriction, associated with longevity, associated with better heart health, associated with better mental health, associated with better skin health, associated with just feeling good. It is salubrious. Have you heard this word? I just learned this word, salubrious.
No, you always do circles around me with the Latin, Ben. I'm not sure.
Salubrious. Isn't that a good word?
It's a beautiful word.
Salubrious. It promotes health.
Oh, I see.
Salubrious strategy, and drugs are not. So if you have a choice between a salubrious health strategy and a non-salubrious health strategy, this is a pharmacist telling you, go salubrious.
That'd be a great T-shirt.
Go salubrious, yes.
It's just so important for people to be aware of what's going on, what their body's really saying, and to be able to separate culture and your own your mental state with what your body's actually saying to you.
Pay attention to your body. Pay attention to the body. There is a wisdom that is built into the body that knows how to digest food and knows how to beat a heart and knows how to detoxify and respire and perspire and excrete and do every single thing. It's completely built into it. And yet, as I say this, I know we live in such a mental world and we're conditioned to really prize the mental nature much more than the physical nature in our culture. That it's a difficult thing to do, but the price we pay is our diseases, it's our misery, it's our psychological misery, our suffering, it's our poor strategies, it's our shortened longevity, it's our dependence on outside authority. It costs us a lot to not do that, and it feels so good to do it. So if you want something simple, John, just start paying, like I said, just start paying attention to your belly throughout the day. Just, I talk to a lot of people who I ask them the digestive problems, they say no, and I say, just pay attention. And by the way, the fasting, I forgot to say this is really important. Fasting can precede the elimination diet to allow you to assess what kind of health your health issues may be. So fasting is a great prelude to the elimination diet because you become more sensitive to things that you didn't notice. I talk to people all the time. They'll be like, I don't have any digestive problems. And I'll say, I'll tell them fast, do the elimination diet, check, journal, do a food diary. And then a month later, 3 weeks later, 2 weeks later, they're like, you know what I found out? I'm allergic to corn. You know what I found out? Every time I have oats, I have a bellyache. Every time I have dairy, every time I have this, I have that, my skin breaks out. I don't feel as good. So, when you start paying attention to your body, you're going to start to notice things. You're going to start to hear things. And really, what it's a question, it's not just paying attention to it, it's listening to your body. It's hearing your body. Your body wants to be listened to. Like anything else, like any living organism, the body wants to be listened to.
So many people say, well, I do this every day. I have my lunch at 4 p.m. and it is a ham sandwich, and I eat it at 4 p.m. And I don't do anything every day. To me, that's not a prescription for awareness.
That's great. Keep your body guessing. The body likes to guess. The body likes novelty. The body likes new things. The body likes new sensations. That's why we like different tastes and different flavors. The body likes different tastes, different flavors, different foods, different rituals. Have you heard people say, try brushing your teeth with your other hand?
Oh, no, but I got to give that a shot.
When you brush your teeth with your other hand, you activate neurology. You build synapses.
And I bet you find some spots you miss with the other hand as well.
Well, you probably do that too. But do start eating with your left hand, writing with your left hand. There's different things. Just doing things differently as we get older becomes even more important because the brain entropy is kicking in and the accumulation toxicity is kicking in. Brain starts to deteriorate. Anything you can do to jack up your brain chemistry is really important. And one of the best ways to do it is to introduce novelty into your brain and doing things with different hands or wearing different clothes or reading different books. Introducing novelty to the brain, thinking different ideas. Have you noticed when people get older, they know everything?
Oh, yeah,
Don't do it. I'm getting older now. I got to be careful not to do it. Don't do it. You always want to be open to new ideas. I have this thing called old man's disease. I named this after my dad, right? I noticed he had it.
It's one of my
I've noticed now women get it, young people get it. You don't have to be old, you don't have to be a man. It's when you know everything, right? I know exactly how it is. So you want to keep you want to keep the brain guessing a little bit. Uncertainty is really good. Controlled uncertainty, not chronic uncertainty. You see the distinction?
You don't want to be completely manic,
That's not good. Short term, keep the body guessing.
Awesome, Ben. It's you're validating a lot of my lifestyle. So
good deal.
I might have
then you're going to live a good, long, strong, healthy life.
Some of my friends who are used to seeing me kind of look at a plate of food and go, yeah, I'm not going to eat now. I'm going to eat later. I really need them to watch this so that they understand I'm not completely obtuse or
you're listening to your body.
Exactly. Well, I thank you, Ben, a bunch for making it 3 weeks in a row, and I invite all of our viewers to experiment with some fasting or just try not eating a meal and see how you feel, and let us know.
If you don't want to fast, SueroViv cleanse or juice or calorie restriction, don't feel like you absolutely have to fast. Fasting's great, but if there's other ways to do it, you'll still get a lot of the benefits. Ketogenic diet too.
Thank you all for joining us. This has been a Critical Health News broadcast. Please take a moment to subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Facebook, visit criticalhealthnews.com for more alternative, empowering articles and videos, and sign up for our newsletter.